In this mini lecture, we're going to discuss efficiency. By the end of the mini lecture, you'll understand the two types of efficiency, allocative and productive. You'll also hear allocative efficiency pronounced as allocative efficiency, whatever floats your boat. Productive efficiency and allocative efficiency are two sides of the same coin. Efficiency generally refers to a lack of waste, but in economic terms, we refer to it as being a way to describe a situation where nobody can have their well-being improved without harming somebody else. So right now, for example, the allocation of cash in everybody's pockets is efficient. It might not be equal, in fact it is not, but it is efficient because I can't come and take $5 out of your pocket without making you worse off, even though I'm making myself better off. Now, if we had some kind of giant money printing machine that go brrrr, it sounds like macro. Let's come back to that later on. Productive efficiency says that given the available inputs and technology, it's impossible to produce more of one good without decreasing the quantity of another good that's produced. So if we're on the production possibilities frontier, if we're on the line on point A or B or C or D or F, or the hypothetical E point, we can't produce more of one good without giving up some resources that are currently being devoted to the other. If we're at point R, though, we could produce more of each good because we have resources that are not being used. So productive efficiency involves using all of your resources. Allocative efficiency is when the mix of goods being produced represents the mix that society wants. Again, we're going to need to talk about preferences for this to be defined in a rigorous way, but this means that essentially people who want a good and are willing to pay the market price for it are able to get it. So allocative efficiency means that we are allocating, we're giving out the goods in a way that makes sense. Productive efficiency means the way that we're producing them makes sense. Society has to choose, though, because resources are limited. So the only way we can expand consumption of all goods is, one, if we're currently using our resources inefficiently, we can use them more efficiently and produce more goods. Or two, what we're more likely to see these days is an economy growing, getting more resources. Think back to those factors of production: land, labor, physical capital, and entrepreneurship. We can only improve once we're using our resources efficiently by getting access to more of those factors. We also need to have the term comparative advantage in mind when we're talking about trade. Comparative advantage refers to being able to produce something at a lower opportunity cost than another country, than your trade partner. So think to the pre-class media for this one, I'll Name the Dogs by Blake Shelton. That referred to Blake Shelton in the lyrics trying to divide up the work of having a family. He says, you find the land and I'll bring the money, right? He says, you figure out where we're going to live, I'll pay for it. Right? He says in the chorus, you name the babies, I'll name the dogs. Okay, now, first of all, I apologize for acknowledging traditional gender roles. I know that that's not something that everybody agrees with, but he's saying, you're better at raising children than I am. I'll take care of the dogs, man. I'll handle the dogs. So he's saying he has a comparative advantage in taking care of the dogs, whereas his presumably wife in the song has a comparative advantage in taking care of the kids. Comparative advantage just means we're going to specialize in what we do best. So with trade, you produce goods where their opportunity cost is lowest. You produce goods that are cheap to you, and you trade them for goods that are expensive to you. Take a look at how the opportunity cost represented by the slope, the instantaneous slope of each of these curves, steepens as we produce more of one good or less of one good. The production possibility frontier, much steeper than in the US, and so the opportunity cost of wheat is very high. It's a lot easier to produce sugarcane in Brazil than it is to produce wheat. It's a lot harder to produce sugarcane in the US. So it makes sense for the US to produce wheat and Brazil to produce sugarcane. As a quick review, how can we identify productive efficiency? Well, productive efficiency, as long as we're on the production possibility curve, we're being productively efficient. Allocative efficiency, much harder, much harder.